I don't believe it.
She saved the Mafia boss's mother by taking a bullet for her. Now the Mafia boss is obsessed with her. The problem? He has no idea that she was involved in the shooting.
Welcome to my library. I'm Lena, and our story is just beginning.
Chapter 1. The Bullet.
What happened?
I shouldn't have been in Little Italy that Saturday afternoon. My entire life revolved around not being seen, not being in places where Sicilians gathered, not remembering home too much. But the flowers at that street market were the only ones that smelled like Palermo. The October sun beat down hard on the stalls, and vendors shouted offers in Italian, while the smell of fresh tomatoes and basil floated in the air along with laughter and music. I was holding white daisies when I saw her for the first time. An elegant woman carefully choosing oranges with gray hair pulled back in an impeccable bun. Simple navy blue dress, but clearly expensive. She was laughing at something the vendor was saying with a Neapolitan accent. Strong but charming. Something about her made me smile, a solidity I recognized. That's when the world slowed down. The man in the black suit, incongruous in the heat with sweat on his forehead, but he didn't even seem to notice. His hand moved too slow, too fast, going inside his jacket, his eyes fixed on her, on that gray-haired woman who had no idea. My stomach froze because I knew that look. I'd seen it before, the night my world ended. The gun came out of the jacket with metal gleaming under the sun, and finger on the trigger. No! My body moved before my brain could process, and the scream came out in Sicilian. Automatic, desperate, pure survival instinct mixed with something else. Something that wouldn't let another person die, while I just watched. 3 strides. And I crossed the space between us, pushed her with everything I had, and she fell among the orange crates with a muffled cry. The shot exploded in my ears. Liquid fire tore through my left shoulder, impossible burning that stole all the air from my lungs, and my knees gave out. I fell on top of her, still trying to protect, still covering her body with mine. Screams exploded around us with people running in all directions, fruit rolling across the ground. And that pain that consumed everything. Ragazza, sei stata colpita. The woman beneath me held my face saying, "Girl, you were shot." Her dark eyes were wide with absolute panic. I tried to answer but could only cough. Blood, so much blood running hot down my arm, staining my white blouse and pooling on the ground. "Resisti, mio figlio." She squeezed my hand hard saying, "Hold on, my son." But the sentence remained incomplete. Sirens distant but approaching and voices shouting. Someone ordering an ambulance while another said a man had run after the shooter. Matteo got him, I heard someone say, though I didn't know who Matteo was. It didn't matter, because nothing mattered except the pain and the darkness pulling at the edges of my vision. Then I heard the voice. "Mama," deep, authoritative, but broken in a way that made my chest hurt worse than the wound, desperate and truly terrified. I forced my eyes open, and a man was cutting through the crowd as if it didn't exist. People automatically moved aside with survival instinct recognizing predator, tall with broad shoulders under a perfectly cut dark gray jacket, black hair pulled back, and that face, strong jaw, small scar near the eyebrow, eyes so dark they looked black even in daylight. He saw his mother on the ground, saw the blood, saw me on top of her, in instant panic transforming into something colder, more dangerous. "Mama?" The voice came out hoarse and rare, as if he wasn't used to feeling fear. "It wasn't me," she screamed before he finished kneeling. "She saved me. She took the bullet for me." He froze and his eyes dropped to me, to my pale face, to the blood, to my hand uselessly pressing the wound. Something changed in those eyes. Didn't soften because men like him don't soften, but it became intense in a different way, focused and absolute. "Ambulance," he spoke without taking his eyes off me. "An order, not a request." "Already on its way, boss," a male voice answered behind him. Boss, of course. I knew the type. The paramedics arrived quickly with hands touching me, checking pulse, tearing my blouse to see the wound, and each touch was agony. I bit my lip until I tasted blood. "We need to take her now," one of them said. "I'm coming with you," the man. Dante, though I didn't know the name yet. "Sir, only family." The look he gave the paramedic made the man swallow hard, stop mid-sentence, and nod quickly. "Understood. Don't argue. Get in." They put me on the stretcher, and the movement made my shoulder explode again. A scream escaped before I could hold it back with tears burning my eyes. Inside the ambulance, doors closing, movement and siren above us. I was going into shock. I knew it. Felt my body trying to shut down and protect itself from the pain. The edges of my vision went dark, then clear, then dark again. "Non com papa," Non di nuovo. The words escaped without permission. Not like Dad. Not again. Absolute silence in the ambulance. Then that deep voice. Closer now. Too close. She's Sicilian. I tried to focus. Tried to see who had spoken, but everything was blurred. How do you know? Another voice, male and younger. Accent. Dialect. Palermo, if I'm not mistaken. Panic cut through the shock because he couldn't know. No one could know where I was from. I felt gentle fingers touch my hair. The woman, his mother, Antonella, though I'd only learn the name later. Come to Chiami cara? What's your name, dear? Lucia. That's all I could say. Lucia. Bella. Her voice was full of tears. You saved me. Why? I forced the words out. Needed her to understand. Because I saw it happen before. Couldn't let the darkness pulled me and I let it go. Easier than fighting. But before I passed out completely, before I disappeared, I felt eyes on me, intense and studying, and I heard his voice low, as if talking to himself. Beautiful. A pause. Even pale. I woke up once, briefly, with bright lights, hospital smell and distant voices. Bullet lodged deep. Complicated. But we'll get it. Then darkness again. Time didn't exist. Could have been minutes, hours, or years. Voices brought me back. 2 of them. Male. One I recognized. Boss, we got him. And cold. Deadly. That voice made my spine tingle even unconscious. Mercenary. Contract hit. By whom? Absolute danger in those 2 words. Trying to find out, but he had a photo of Donna Antonella. She was the target. Her. A pause. Long and heavy. Yes, boss. Find out who hired him today. Yes, sir. Darkness again. The next time I woke up was different. More real and more solid. I heard voices close by. Family of Lucia Santoro. Yes. The deep voice, smooth lie. He wasn't family and didn't even know me. She's going to be fine. The bullet was removed. No permanent nerve damage. She was lucky. Grazie a Dio. The woman. Antonella. Crying tears of relief. Footsteps walking away then returning closer. Private room. His voice. An order. The best you have. Sir, all our rooms are the best. Yes, of course. This way. I felt movement, being transported to another bed, softer with clean sheets smelling of lavender. I tried to open my eyes, but they were too heavy with the anesthesia still holding me. Gentle fingers touched my hair, brushing away strands stuck with sweat, maternal touch and tender. She's special, Dante. Antonella's voice, soft and certain. You don't know her. Him. Cautious, but not disagreeing. I know the eyes, mio figlio. I saw pain in them, like mine, like yours. Silence, long and heavy with meaning. She jumped in front of a bullet for you. Without thinking, without hesitating, Antonella continued. That says everything. More silence, but I felt something. Eyes on me, studying and seeing too much. Then that voice, low and almost inaudible. She has a scar, near the temple. Old. Dante. And the hands, did you see her hands? Calloused, she works with something. Writes maybe, or translates. How did he know? How did he see so much? You're obsessed, Antonella said. Not an accusation, but an observation. I'm curious. Correction, but weak. You're interested. No answer. Confirmation in the silence. Hours later, maybe 2, maybe 5, my eyes finally agreed to open. Soft lights. Not the offensive fluorescence from the hallway, but a lamp. Private room like he'd demanded. Confusion wrapped around me. Where was I? What had happened? Then I saw her, Antonella, sitting in the chair beside the bed with eyes closed, sleeping but still holding my hand. Ma'am. My voice came out broken and hoarse. Her eyes opened immediately. Alert, even in sleep. Lucia, Cara, you're awake. Immediate tears with relief transforming her face. I tried to sit up, but sharp pain tore through my shoulder and I gasped. Easy, easy, slowly. She helped me gently. You're safe. You're in the hospital. Memories flooding back. Market, shooter, bullet and blood. The shooter, fear gripped my throat. Did he get away? Is he coming back? No, they caught him. Her voice became harder. My son made sure of that. Her son, the tall man, dangerous and boss, as if summoning him was enough. The door opened. He entered and occupied the entire space just by existing. Broad shoulders with a presence impossible to ignore. Those dark eyes immediately finding mine. She's awake, not a question, but a statement, as if he already knew. My heart raced with instinct, recognizing danger even through the fog of medication. Tall, taller than he seemed in the ambulance, with a dark gray jacket perfectly cut over a black shirt. No tie with collar buttons open. Black hair pulled back but some strands falling over his forehead. And that face. Strong jaw covered with 3-day stubble. Full but firm lips. Straight nose. Small scar near the left eyebrow that somehow made him more dangerous and more real. But it was the eyes. Dark as a moonless night. Intense in a way that made it hard to breathe. Studying my face as if he could read every secret written there. I knew men like this. Power. violence, and absolute control. Instinctive fear crawled up my spine. I managed to ask cautiously. Dante Caruso. He pointed to Antonella without taking his eyes off me. Her son. Accent. Sicilian like hers, but different. Rougher. Catania, maybe. I froze, and he noticed. Of course he noticed, because men like him noticed everything. You're Sicilian. Not a question, but a statement with absolute certainty. My throat went dry. I lived there a while ago. Palermo? How did he know? How could he know just from my unconscious accent in the ambulance? A small smile touched his lips. Dangerous and attractive in a completely inappropriate way given the situation. I know it too, Catania. Gazes locked, impossible to look away, as if he held me in place with just those eyes. The tension in the room became thick and electric, making the air heavy and hard to breathe. Antonella looked between us, sensing and perceiving. Something changed in her expression. Surprise and something else. Hope, maybe. Dante, her voice firm, maternal but with authority, let her rest. I have questions. He didn't even look at his mother with eyes still fixed on me. Later, Antonella stood up and put her hand on his arm firmly. She just woke up. Later. For a long moment I thought he would argue, saw the refusal forming, the stubbornness, the control wanting to maintain command. But then he nodded, minimal and almost imperceptible. He took a step back, but his eyes still held me captive. I'll be back. Promise and threat, both. We need to talk, you and I. He left, and the door closed behind him, but the presence remained, filling every corner of the room and impossible to ignore. I breathed deeply, first time since he entered. My shoulder hurt. My head was spinning, and something in my chest tightened in a way that had nothing to do with the bullet wound. I had saved the mother of a dangerous man, and now he saw me. God help me. Chapter 2, Flashback. How she got here.
I don't believe this! I don't believe this!
Lying in that hospital bed with my shoulder throbbing under bandages, Antonella had left to get coffee, and for the first time since I woke up, I was alone with my thoughts, and my thoughts were dangerous. Why did I do it? Why did my body move before my head could process? 11 years running, 11 years invisible, and I threw it all away for a stranger. No, it wasn't quite like that. I saw the shooter, saw the target, and my body just reacted. Because I'd seen it before. Because I couldn't let it happen again. Idiot. Now he'll investigate. Dante Caruso with those eyes that see too much. He'll dig. He'll find out, and they'll find me. Panic started to squeeze my throat with breathing, getting short, not from physical pain, but from the certainty that I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. The door opened. It wasn't Antonella. Alone, Dante entered and closed the door behind him with a casual but definitive movement. His presence filled every inch of the room. Impossible to ignore, and impossible to breathe normally. Your mother went to get... I know. He took a step closer. Then another. Predator approaching. Wanted to talk alone. My heart raced. About? You. Palermo. 11 years ago. I was 16 with an apparently normal life for a Sicilian girl. School. Friends. Dreams of going to university to study literature. My father was Antonio Rossi, translator fluent in 5 languages who worked for businessmen. At least that's what he told me. I wasn't an idiot, and I knew what kind of businessmen needed translators in Palermo. But Dad was kind, funny, and protected me from everything ever since my mother died of cancer when I was 10. It was just the two of us against the world, until that night. 10 p.m. and I was late, had stayed at the school library studying for exams, and when I got home, the street was quiet, normal with nothing indicating my life was about to end. The house was dark, which was strange because Dad always left lights on when I went out at night. He always waited up for me. I opened the door slowly. Papa? Silence. I entered, closed the door, and took 3 steps inside, and I saw. Dad was on the living room floor with blood, so much blood pooling around him. 3 men were standing with one of them crouched beside my father, another near the window, and the third with his back to me. I froze while pure instinct made me step back and hide behind the pillar between the entrance and living room with my hand over my mouth preventing any sound. You betrayed us, Antonio. The crouched man was speaking with a voice calm, almost casual. Translating for the feds. Thought we wouldn't find out? Per favor. My father's voice was weak and agonizing. Mia figlia, your daughter. The man laughed without humor. She'll learn her father's lesson that betrayal has a price. No, les non. The shot cut off the words. I bit my hand hard, feeling skin break with the taste of blood, but the scream didn't come out. It couldn't come out. Dad stopped moving. The girl's here, the man near the window said. I saw her bedroom light come on earlier. Search. Panic. Absolute and paralyzing. Then instinct. The same one that made me jump in front of that bullet years later. It made me run. Back exit through the kitchen. The door that led to the backyard. that led to the parallel street. I ran with only the clothes on my back and my school backpack. I didn't stop and didn't look back. Father Benedetto, the young priest from the church, he always liked me and always said I had a good heart. I knocked on his door at 3 a.m, crying and shaking with my father's blood on my clothes. I need to get out of Sicily, I managed to say between sobs. They're going to kill me. He didn't ask for details. He just nodded, picked up the phone and made calls. 2 days later, I was on a boat to France. 11 years running. France was first. Paris with illegal work in a restaurant washing dishes, learning French, listening to conversations, and always looking over my shoulder, always expecting to be recognized. 1 year, that's all I could take. Spain came after. Madrid, that's where I discovered I could be a freelance translator, that my father's talent lived in me, and that I could work online, invisible. They almost caught me there 2 years later when someone recognized my last name. Rossi wasn't uncommon, but in the Italian community it was risky. I changed to Santoro, my maternal grandmother's name, and ran again. England, London, 3 years in fog and rain where I improved my English, worked hard and tried to build something resembling a normal life. The nightmares didn't stop though. Dad dying, blood, the gunshot. I'd wake up screaming and the neighbors complained. I did therapy, and it helped. It didn't cure, but it helped. The scars remained but stopped bleeding so much. Canada was next. Toronto, cold but safe, or at least I thought I was. 3 years almost happy with friends, routine, and peace. Until my photo appeared in an Italian expat group on Facebook, and someone had recognized me. Comments started with questions about my family. I deleted everything and ran again. New York was 2 years ago, a city big enough to disappear with millions of people. It was easy to be nobody. Small apartment in Queens with freelance work online, and few friends. Chiara, my Brazilian neighbor who was outgoing enough for both of us. Quiet life. Invisible. Exactly how I needed it. Until today. Until I saw that shooter. Until my body decided for me. Present, hospital. Lucia Santoro. Dante was beside my bed now. Very close. Freelance translator. Lives in Queens. No family listed. Arrived in New York 2 years ago. I froze completely. How did you... We investigated, of course. As if it were obvious. As if it were his right. Basic. You had no right. You saved my mother. He leaned forward slightly with his eyes fixed on mine. I have every right. The logic was completely twisted, but the way he spoke with that absolute certainty made it seem perfectly reasonable. There's nothing to investigate. I tried to sound firm and failed. No? A small smile appeared. Dangerous. You showed up in New York 2 years ago. Nothing before that, like a ghost with no history, no family, no past. I moved a lot, freelance work allows. Lucia, my name came out deep, a command. Look at me, reluctant. I forced my eyes to meet his. Mistake. Those dark eyes saw everything. They cut through every lie, every wall, every defense. You're lying, not an accusation, but a fact. I can feel it. How did he know? How could he read me so easily? I took a deep breath, trying to decide how much to tell and how much to hide. Fine. The words came out tired. I left Sicily young. Bad memories. I traveled a lot and ended up here. Bad memories, he repeated slowly. What kind? Personal. Your father. Not a question. I heard you mumbling about him in the ambulance. Not like Dad. Not again. Tears burned my eyes. Involuntary and traitorous. He died. The truth came out broken. Violently, I saw it happen. The first real truth I gave him. Something changed in Dante's face. It didn't exactly soften, but the intensity became different. Less interrogation and more understanding. Mafia? His voice dropped slightly. Long pause. I should lie, but I was tired. 11 years tired. Yes. He nodded slow, as if he'd expected exactly that answer. I understand. He straightened slightly. My father too. Family war. I was 19. My heart stopped. You? Yes. Simple and direct. Then I took over because in this world you kill or get killed. There's no third option. Brutal honesty with no flourishes and no excuses. You're in that world. Not a question, but a statement. Yes, no hesitation, and you've been running from it. I didn't deny it, because there was no point. His gaze intensified. You don't have to anymore. What? Run. You're under my protection now. I didn't ask. Doesn't matter. He took another step closer, invading my space completely. You saved her, my mother, the only person in this world who truly matters to me. I never forget a debt. That doesn't mean. It means exactly what I said. His voice became lower and more dangerous. You're my responsibility now, mine to protect. Understand. You don't know me. I will. A promise, not a threat. But it sounded dangerous anyway. I'm going to know everything, every secret, every fear, every reason you spent 11 years running. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. Why? Why do you care? He stopped and studied my face with those dark eyes, seeing too many layers. Because you're brave, he finally said. You saw danger and ran toward it. You didn't move away. You protected someone you didn't even know, and that says who you are. Or it says I'm an idiot. A small smile appeared, real this time, completely transforming his face and making him look younger, less dangerous, more human. Maybe, he agreed, but a brave idiot. Despite everything, despite the fear and confusion and pain, I smiled too. You're frustrating, I admitted. I am, no shame. But I'm also protection and safety. Nobody touches you while you're under my name. And if I don't want your protection, his eyes darkened. It's not negotiable. It should have irritated me. That arrogance, that control. But there was a part of me, the part that had been running for 11 years, that woke up with nightmares, that always looked over its shoulder. That part relaxed for the first time in years. So, I tried to sound casual. What happens now? Now you rest and recover. He finally stepped back, giving me space to breathe. And when you leave here, we'll have another conversation. One where you tell me the complete truth. And if I refuse, you won't. Absolute and certain. Because you feel it too. Feel what? That this isn't over. He gestured between us. That something started the moment you jumped in front of that bullet. The moment our eyes met in the ambulance. My breath caught because he was right, and it terrified me. You scare me, I admitted quietly. I know, no apologies, but I won't hurt you. Never. How can I trust that? You can't. Brutal honesty again. Not yet, but you will. He went to the door, stopped and looked back. One last thing. Yes? Stop planning to run. Those eyes seeing straight through me. It won't work. And it'll only annoy me. How did he know? How could he read me so easily? I wasn't. You were, he smiled. Dangerous and attractive. But forget it. You're not going anywhere. Not anymore. He left before I could respond. I stayed there with my heart racing, my shoulder throbbing, and my mind spinning. Dante Caruso was a Mafia boss. That much was clear. And everything about him screamed danger. From the way he controlled every conversation, to the intensity in those dark eyes that saw too much. And somehow, for some completely insane reason, I believed him. I believed I'd be safe. For the first time in 11 years. Chapter 3. Recovery and Friendship.
I need to go back.
2 weeks had passed since the shooting. I was back in my apartment in Queens. It was small with one bedroom and a tiny kitchen, but it was mine. It had been my safe space for 2 years, except now it didn't feel so much mine anymore. Dante had insisted. No, insisting implies there was some kind of negotiation. He'd simply decided I wouldn't go back alone, and that was that. You need care, he'd said at the hospital with his voice firm and final. I can take care of myself. No, simple as that. Absolute. A nurse is going with you. Daily checkups, dressings, and medication. I can't afford. You're not paying. He didn't even blink. I'm paying. Dante, no. Already decided. And he left before I could keep arguing. So now I had a nurse named Roberta. She was Italian, and in her 50s. Efficient, but kind. And she came twice a day, in the morning and evening, to check my wound, change my dressings, and make sure I took my antibiotics. I'd tried to refuse, obviously. He'd ignored me. Obviously. Chiara thought the whole thing was hilarious. Honey, my Brazilian neighbor had said, while sitting on my couch with her curly hair pulled into a messy bun and her bright red nails gesturing animatedly. A Mafia boss literally adopted you. Just enjoy it. He didn't adopt me. He paid for a private nurse. He sends security to check your building. And he called your landlord asking him to fix that leak you've been complaining about for months. She counted on her fingers. That's adoption, honey. I had no answer for that. Because she was right. But the strangest part? The part that left me feeling confused and comfortable at the same time? Antonella. She started coming on the 3rd day. She knocked on my door at 10 in the morning with a warm smile and her hands full of Tupperware containers. Good morning, Cara. She entered like she'd done it 1,000 times before. I brought you some food. Donna Antonella. You really didn't need to. Just Antonella. She corrected me gently. And of course I did. You need to eat properly and recover your strength. She brought homemade Italian food. There was lasagna, risotto, chicken and white wine, fresh bread and desserts that made my entire apartment smell like Sicily. This is way too much. I started to protest. It's not. She organized everything in my small refrigerator with impressive efficiency. It's the very least I can do. You saved my life, Lucia, so let me take care of you. And she did. The first week went like that. She came almost every day, brought food, sat with me, and we talked for hours. First we spoke in English, then we mixed in more Italian, and then we spoke only in Italian with her Neapolitan accent, mixing with my Sicilian one, 2 accents that told stories of home. And we laughed. God, we laughed so much. We shared silly stories and memories of Italy. She told me about growing up in Naples with her big, loud family where there was always food, always drama, and always so much love. I told her about Palermo, the edited version without the painful parts. Only the good memories like the markets, the flowers, the way the sun hit the sea, and the beautiful smell of lemons everywhere. I haven't laughed like this in years. The words just escaped one afternoon while the two of us were sitting on my tiny couch with the remains of tiramisu still on our plates. Antonella stopped what she was doing, looked at me, and something changed in her eyes. There was recognition there, and a deep understanding. Neither have I, Kara. Her voice became soft and a little sad. Neither have I. There was silence between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was shared. I lost my husband 15 years ago, she finally said, while looking down at her hands. It was a gang war, and I was there. I saw the whole thing happen. My heart tightened in my chest. How did you survive? She smiled, but it was small and sad. Because I had Dante. He was only 19 years old, just a boy who became a man overnight. He took over everything, protected me, and avenged his father. That must have been terrible. It was. She took my hand and squeezed it. But I survived, just like you survived. Just like we both survived because we're strong, Lucia. We're so much stronger than we ever imagine we are. Tears burned in my eyes because she was the first mother figure I'd had since my own mother died. She was the first gentle touch, the first person who truly understood without me needing to explain anything. You're special, Kara. Antonella touched my face in a maternal and genuine way. I can feel it. I've felt it since that day. You're very special. I hugged her and cried on her shoulder while she held me tight and murmured soft words in Italian, giving me comfort, safety, and a feeling of home. For the first time in 11 long years, I didn't feel so completely alone. Dante came too. He came every single day, always with some kind of excuse. Just checking the security, he'd say, while inspecting my windows and locks as if my tiny queen's apartment was some kind of fortress that needed protecting. Matteo sent me, which was an obvious lie, because Matteo didn't send him anywhere to do anything. I was in the area, he'd claim, but him being in Queens? That seemed pretty unlikely, but he kept coming anyway, and I kept letting him in. Usually he came when Antonella was already there. He'd enter and see the two of us laughing and talking comfortably in Italian. Something would change in his face when he saw us together. It didn't exactly soften, but it would relax slightly, as if seeing his mother happy and at peace was the only thing in the world that truly mattered to him. But once I caught him looking at me, not at Antonella, but directly at me, and there was this strange expression on his face that was intense and confused, as if he were trying desperately to solve some complicated puzzle. "Everything okay, mio figlio?" Antonella had asked him. He blinked, and his expression returned to normal. Yes, everything's fine. But it wasn't fine, and I could feel it. Matteo had come by once, too. He was Dante's right-hand man, tall and muscular, but he had a much more relaxed manner than his boss did. "Boss," he'd said, while meeting Dante outside my building, and I could hear them through my open window. "You're here again, just checking the security. You checked the security yesterday, and the day before that, and every single day this week." There was a pause. "You're being way too present. Just ensuring everything is secure." His voice was firm and defensive. "Her security?" Matteo asked with a tone that was casual, but dangerously casual. "Or Donna Antonella's security, both of them. Or maybe you just want to see her." There was silence, long and heavy with meaning. Then Dante said, "I'm just doing my job." But it was a lie, and we both knew it. Everyone knew it. It was the 10th day of my recovery. It was 10 at night, and I was already in my pajamas, wearing old sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt with my hair pulled into a messy bun, no makeup on, and looking completely casual. There was a knock at the door. That was strange because Roberta had already come and gone. Antonella never came this late, and Chiara was out of town traveling. I opened the door without checking first, which was a mistake. It was Dante. He was wearing a dark jacket over a gray shirt with no tie, and the top buttons were open. His hair was slightly messy, as if he'd been running his hands through it several times, and those eyes of his were fixed on me with an intensity that made my stomach flip. "Dante?" My voice came out higher than I'd intended. "Your mother isn't— I know she's not here." He entered. He simply walked in without waiting for any kind of invitation, and closed the door behind him. "I came to see you." My heart started racing. "To see me?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, his eyes were scanning my apartment, studying it and absorbing all the details. It was small, that was obvious, but it was clean and organized, and there were books. So many books everywhere on improvised shelves made of bricks and boards. There were stacks on the floor, on the table, and on the windowsill. "You read a lot." It was an observation, not a judgment. "Yes." I said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. He walked over to the shelf with his fingers running along the spines of the books. He stopped and picked one up. It was the Divine Comedy in the original Italian. Classical Italian literature, he looked at me. Dante, Petrarch, Leopardi. My father loved poetry. The words escaped before I could filter them. He taught me everything. Something changed in his gaze. It sharpened and became more focused. Your father, I swallowed hard. Yes. He put the book back down carefully and respectfully. Then he turned completely toward me. He took 2 steps and suddenly he was close. Way too close for comfort, and too close for me to think straight. My mother really likes you, he finally said. I like her too. I was being honest and truthful. She doesn't connect with people easily. His voice lowered slightly. Not since my father, not since losing him. She just closed herself off from everyone. I understand that, and I did understand it perfectly. I don't connect easily either. Our gazes locked and the air between us became thick and heavy. You make me feel uncomfortable, he admitted with that brutal honesty he always had. Uncomfortable? I repeated, feeling confused. I can't stop thinking about you. He took another step closer and invaded my space, thinking if you're okay, if you're safe, if you're eating enough, if you're sleeping right, if your wound is healing properly. My breath caught in my throat. That's kind of you. No, he shook his head. It's not kind. It's an obsession. And it annoys me deeply. The brutal honesty should have scared me. It should have made me want to pull back and create distance. But it did the complete opposite and made something in my chest tighten and feel warm. Then just stop coming here. I tried to sound firm, but I failed completely. I can't. He took another step. And now there was practically no space between us. Believe me, I've tried to stay away. I could see all the details now because we were standing too close. I could see his dark lashes, the small lines near his eyes, an almost invisible scar on his chin, and I could see his pulse beating in his neck. He was nervous. Dante Caruso, who was a powerful Mafia boss, this man who seemed to fear absolutely nothing, he was actually nervous around me. That realization made me feel brave and terrified at the exact same time. His hand lifted slowly. He was giving me a chance to pull back. It was going toward my face to touch my cheek. I stepped back. It was pure instinct mixed with fear and desire. Everything was mixed up and confused in my head. Dante, no, we can't. His hand froze in midair and then dropped to his side while his jaw locked tight. Why not? Because you're dangerous. The words came out shaky and uncertain, and I'm trying really hard not to die. Not again. I would protect you. His voice was hoarse, and it was an absolute promise. Men like you destroyed my entire life once before. I needed him to understand this. They killed my father. They made me run and hide, and they turned me into this. I gestured to myself, to my tiny apartment, to this whole hidden life I'd been living. Something passed across his face. It was pain, and it was real. And completely visible. I'm not like them. He stepped back 1 step to create some distance. I'm nothing like them. Aren't you, though? The tears were burning in my eyes. You kill people, Dante. I only kill bad people. He tried to defend himself, but his voice was less certain now. But it's still killing. I needed to say this. I needed the reality to be completely clear between us. It's still violence. It's still blood. It's still this world that nearly destroyed me. He stayed quiet for a long time, just studying the floor with his jaw working, and I could see thoughts visibly crossing his face. When he finally looked up, his eyes were different. They were darker and more distant. You're right, he said it simple and direct. I am all of those things you said. He turned and walked to the door with his hand on the knob. Then he stopped. But just one thing. He looked back over his shoulder at me. I would never hurt you. That's the truth. Even if I'm not worthy of you. Even if I'm everything you just said I am. I would never ever hurt you. Then he left. The door closed softly. He didn't slam it. Everything was controlled right to the very end. I just stood there with my heart racing and tears finally falling down my face. Confusion and relief and regret were all mixed together inside me. I knew I did the right thing by pulling back and keeping my distance from him. So then why did it hurt so much? Antonella came over the very next morning. She took one look at my face and she just knew. My son came to visit you. It wasn't a question. Yes, there was no point in lying to her. She made us coffee, strong espresso the Italian way, and then sat down with me at my small kitchen table. He likes you. She got straight to the point. Donna Antonella, she said it firm but gentle, and he does like you. I have never seen my son act like this before. He's very intense, which had to be the understatement of the century. He's a Caruso, she smiled. It was small and knowing. When we love someone, it's absolute. Is it dangerous? Yes, of course it is, but it's also true. Completely and utterly true. My chest felt tight. I can't get involved with him. Why not? Because of my past. I looked down at my hands with my fingers intertwined nervously. It's all so complicated. His past is complicated too. She covered my hands with hers, and they were warm and firm. He lost his father. He had to take over a violent empire when he was only 19 years old. He's killed people. He's avenged his family, and somehow he's survived all of it. Exactly. I looked up at her. He is that world, and I've spent years running away from that world. You ran away from the bad people in that world. She corrected me gently. Not from all people. Not from him specifically. How can you possibly know that? Because I saw the way you look at him. She had a small smile. And I saw the way he looks at you. It's the same way. The same intensity. The same need for each other. He scares me. I know he does. She squeezed my hands. But he scares you because he makes you actually feel things, and you haven't let yourself feel anything in a very long time, isn't that true? The tears burned in my eyes because she was right. She was completely and totally right. The past is the past, Kara, Antonella said softly and gently. But the future is always a choice. It's your choice, and it will always be yours to make. She left that thought just hanging there in the space between us. A choice, my choice to make. For the first time in 11 years, I actually could choose to stop running from everything. The only question was I brave enough to do it? Chapter 4, Investigation.
What do I do?
Dante sat in his office at 3 a.m. with a glass of whiskey forgotten on the desk and papers scattered everywhere, but his eyes were fixed on the window, seeing nothing and thinking everything. Lucia. 2 weeks since the shooting, and 2 weeks of visiting her, seeing her laugh with his mother, seeing her recover, seeing her live in that tiny Queen's apartment as if it were enough, but it wasn't enough. Nothing about her was simple, and nothing made sense. Lucia Santoro appeared in New York 2 years ago out of nowhere like a ghost with no history, no family, and no verifiable past. He had investigators, the best ones, and they'd found absolutely nothing. That didn't happen because everyone left traces. They always did, unless they were hiding on purpose. He picked up the phone and dialed. "Boss?" a sleepy voice answered. It was his private investigator, the best in New York. "Lucia Santoro," Dante said directly. "I want everything. Absolutely everything. Doesn't matter what it costs and doesn't matter how long it takes. I want to know who she was before she got here. We already investigated. Go deeper." It was an order, not a request. "Italy, Sicily, specifically Palermo. Look there. Her name might be different, but she's from there, I'm certain of it." "Understood. How much time do I have?" "1 week?" He hung up. He drank the whiskey in one go, and it burned his throat, but it didn't help. He was obsessed. He knew it, and he hated it, but he couldn't stop. 1 week later, Matteo entered the office with a serious face and a thick envelope in his hands. "Boss," he put the envelope on the desk. "This is strange." Dante took it, opened it, and found photos, documents and reports inside. Strange how? She only exists for 2 years. Before that, nothing. Zero. As if she'd been born an adult in Queens. She changed her name, Dante murmured, while his eyes scanned the papers. Probably, but why? And from what? Good question. Dante picked up the phone again and dialed a different number, this one in Sicily, an old contact. Someone who knew the families, the stories, and the secrets. "I need information," he said when they answered. "A girl, 27 now. She would have been 16 when she disappeared from Palermo." He sent a photo of Lucia, younger but still recognizable. There was silence on the other end, long and heavy. Then he heard, "Madonna Santa, Rossi." Dante froze completely. What? Antonio Rossi's daughter, the translator who was executed by Enzo Vitale 11 years ago. Everything stopped. The entire world just stopped. "Antonio Rossi," he repeated because he needed to be sure. Yes, he betrayed the Familia. He translated conversations for the feds. Vitale found out and killed him. Then he looked for the daughter, but she vanished, and no one's found her since. And now? Dante's voice became low and dangerous. Are they still looking for her? Vitale is. It's on principle. He doesn't leave betrayal unanswered, not even 11 years later. He hung up, sat down, and looked at Lucia's photo. She was young, smiling and innocent in it. She was 16 years old when she watched her father get executed. Then she ran and spent 11 years running. And now she was here in New York, in his territory. "Boss?" Matteo saw his expression. "What did you find out?" "Everything." Dante ran his hand through his hair. "I found out everything." He explained about Antonio Rossi, the betrayal, the execution, the missing daughter, and how Enzo Vitale was still hunting her. Matteo whistled low. "And now? You gonna tell her, you know?" Dante stayed quiet, thinking and processing everything. "Boss?" Matteo insisted. "You going to confront her about this?" "No. The decision was made and it was firm. Not yet." "Then what are you going to do?" "I protect her. Simple and absolute. Enzo Vitale doesn't touch her and nobody does." Matteo studied his boss for a long time, and then he smiled. It was small and knowing. "Boss, are you in love?" "No." The answer came too quick and too defensive. "Then are you obsessed?" There was a pause, long and honest. "Maybe," he finally admitted. "So what now?" "Now I double her security. and I start hunting Vitale before he hunts her. She's going to notice the extra security. Let her. Dante looked out the window. I'd rather have her annoyed and alive than happy and dead. I felt it on the 11th day. My recovery was going well, my shoulder was hurting less, and movement was getting easier. Roberta had even reduced her visits to just once a day. Antonella still came every day, though. She was my anchor, my new family that I never asked for, but desperately needed. But something was wrong. I had this feeling of being watched, like there were eyes on my back all the time, always. At first I thought it was just paranoia because 11 years of running does that to you. It makes you see danger where there isn't any. But then I started noticing things. There were men, always the same ones with different clothes but the same faces, following me at a respectful distance, but they were always present, always there. I'm being followed, I told Kiara. After she'd come back from her trip, she was sitting on my couch with coffee in her hand. By who? I don't know exactly, but I can feel it. She frowned. You want me to check it out for you? No, I didn't want to involve her in this. But if something happens to me, stop that right now. She took my hand. Nothing's going to happen to you. You have a Mafia army protecting you, remember? That was true, but it didn't calm me down, because something was different. Something had changed. It was as if the threat level had increased somehow. I picked up the phone for the first time since leaving the hospital. It was the first time I initiated contact. I dialed the number Dante had forced me to save in my contacts. For emergencies, he'd said. Call me anytime. He answered on the second ring. Lucia? His voice was immediately alert, as if he'd been expecting my call. There are men following me. I went straight to the point. I know, he said it casual, as if it were obvious and completely normal. You! My anger exploded. You sent people to follow me! It's protection! Simple with no remorse in his voice. I didn't ask for protection. You don't need to ask. His tone was annoyingly calm. It's automatic now. Dante, I practically screamed into the phone. You can't just decide. I can and I did. End of conversation. It's not the end. It is. Firm and final. You stay protected. It's non-negotiable. So get used to it. Dante, the line went dead. He hung up on me. He actually had the nerve to hang up. I looked at the phone feeling furious and indignant. And touched. Damn it. I felt touched. Because he cared enough to ignore my privacy. He cared enough to protect me even when I refused it. Possessive idiot. My possessive idiot. Wait, no, not mine. Definitely not mine. 2 days later in the afternoon, I was at the cafe near my apartment. It was small and Italian. The owner was Neapolitan and made perfect espresso. I was working on my laptop doing a translation from Italian to English. It was a commercial contract. Boring, but it paid the bills. That's when I noticed him. A different man. He wasn't part of Dante's security team. I'd learned to recognize them by now. They were professional, discreet, attentive, but not invasive. This one was different. His eyes were more focused and predatory, and the way he looked at me showed recognition, identification, like a target had been acquired. My blood froze. I watched him discreetly, and he pulled out his phone and photographed me. He didn't even try to hide it much. Then he made a call and spoke low, but the wind carried some of his words to me. Sicilian accent. Absolute panic shot through every single nerve in my body. They found me. After 11 years, they finally found me. The difference between Dante's security and this man was obvious now. Security protected, but this man hunted. My hands started shaking, and I knocked over my coffee. It stained my laptop. It didn't matter. I grabbed my phone, and my fingers barely worked as I dialed. Dante. My voice came out broken and scared. There was an instant change in him, and his tone became alert and dangerous. What happened? There's someone here. The words were coming fast and stumbling over each other. Not one of yours. I saw him. He's photographing me and he's speaking Sicilian. Where are you? I could already hear movement in the background. He was already on his way. At the cafe near my apartment. Cafe Napoli. But stay where you are. It was an absolute order. Don't leave and don't approach him. I'll be there in 3 minutes. Dante, 3 minutes, Lucia. I promise. The line went dead. I looked around, and the man was still there. Still photographing me and still reporting to someone. To whom? To the man who killed my father. To Enzo Vitale. 3 minutes. He said 3. He arrived in 2. The cafe door exploded open. It didn't just open. It exploded. Dante entered like a force of nature with his presence filling the entire space. His eyes were scanning everything. They found me first, and then they found the threat. Relief crossed his face, seeing me whole and alive. Followed immediately by fury when he saw the man. He crossed the cafe in 4 strides, while other customers automatically moved aside, their instinct recognizing the bigger predator. Dante's hand closed on the man's collar, and he pulled him from the chair as if he weighed absolutely nothing. Who sent you? His voice was low and deadly, more frightening than any shouting could be. I didn't. The man started, and his Sicilian accent confirmed my worst fears. Dante heard it too, and his eyes darkened. Enzo? The man froze completely. How do you? The punch was fast and brutal. The man's nose broke with an audible crack and blood gushed out. Other customers screamed and the cafe owner ran to the back. Dante dragged the man outside by his collar like he was nothing but trash. Matteo appeared out of nowhere and took the man from Dante. "I got him, boss." "Take him." Dante let go. "Find out everything. Who sent him? Why now? And how much they know." "Yes, sir." Matteo dragged the man to a black van that was waiting outside. The doors closed and the van disappeared. Dante came back inside, back to me. I was still sitting there shaking with spilled coffee forming a puddle. My laptop was ruined and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. He knelt in front of me with his large hands holding mine. They were warm and firm, an anchor. "Are you okay?" His voice was soft now. Gentle and just for me. "He found me," I whispered. "After 11 years, he finally found me." "He didn't find you," Dante corrected me firmly. "He located you. There's a difference, but he won't get you. Never. You don't know." "I know exactly." His eyes met mine. Intense and true. "I know who you are, who your father was, and who's hunting you. I know everything." My heart stopped. "How?" I investigated. No apologies. I needed to know. I needed to understand. I should have been furious. I should have felt violated, but I only felt relief because he knew everything, and he was still here, still protecting me. "Enzo Vitale," I said, the name that had haunted me for 11 years. "He sent that man." "Yes." Dante didn't lie to me. "But he won't get you, never. Do you understand? My apartment isn't safe anymore." He stood up and pulled me with him. "Come on." "Where are we going?" "To my house." It wasn't a request, and it wasn't a suggestion. "Your apartment isn't safe anymore. You're living with me now." "Dante, I can't." His look stopped the words completely. It was absolute, protective and possessive, but also scared. It was the first real fear I'd ever seen in him. "It's not a request, Lucia." His voice was hoarse and true. "It's a fact. You're coming with me right now. Today, and it's non-negotiable." Part of me wanted to argue about independence and pride, about 11 years of taking care of myself, but the bigger part of me, the part that was so tired of running, that wanted protection, that trusted him even without understanding why, that part nodded. "Okay," I whispered. Relief crossed his face and he pulled me against his chest, in a tight embrace that was protective and possessive, but it felt safe, so incredibly safe. "Nothing hurts you anymore," he murmured against my hair. It was a promise and a vow. "I'll kill anyone who tries," starting with Vitale. I believed him completely, because Dante Caruso was dangerous, and violent, and controlling, but he was mine, and I was his, even without saying it out loud yet. We both knew it. Chapter 5. Truth and Confrontation.
My God. My God!
The mansion was in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. It was on a quiet street that was tree-lined, discreet, but clearly expensive. The iron gates opened automatically when we arrived, and the black van glided through the circular driveway before stopping in front of the main entrance. I looked out the window and saw 3 stories of lightstone with tall windows that had decorative bars. It was elegant, but fortified, the kind of discreet luxury that screamed power. "This is," I started but had no words to finish. "Necessary," Dante said simply, as if a fortified mansion were completely normal. The van door opened and Matteo was outside. "Boss, Donna Lucia." I got out with my legs still shaking slightly as the adrenaline from the cafe started to fade and reality began hitting me. There was security everywhere, discreet men, but they were present. I could see cameras and sensors. It was a system that probably cost more than my entire apartment building. The main door opened before we even reached it. It was Antonella. "Lucia!" She ran to me and hugged me tight. "Cara mio Dio." Dante called me and told me what happened. I looked at Dante over her shoulder and he nodded minimally. He'd told her everything. Of course he had. "I'm fine," I lied. Sort of. Just really scared. "Of course you are." She released me, but held my face and studied it with clear maternal concern. "Come inside. You're staying here now, as long as you need and as long as you want." She pulled me inside while Dante followed behind us, closing the door with multiple locks engaging. The interior was beautiful with marble floors, a curved staircase and crystal chandeliers that weren't excessive. There was art on the walls, and everything was in neutral tones, elegant and masculine, but somehow still comfortable. "I'll show you your room." Antonella was already guiding me toward the stairs. "Mama," Dante called out with his voice firm. She stopped and looked back at him. "Later," he said with his eyes on me. "I need to talk to Lucia first." Antonella looked between the two of us and read something in the air, the tension and the inevitability. Then she nodded slowly. "Don't be too long, mio figlio." It wasn't a request, but a maternal order. "She needs to rest." "I won't," he promised. Antonella squeezed my hand. "I'll show you everything later. You'll be fine here, Cara. I promise you." She went upstairs, leaving us there in the huge entrance hall, completely alone. Dante gestured toward a hallway. "Come with me." It wasn't quite a request, but it wasn't an order either. It was something in between. I followed him through the hallway to a heavy wooden door that led to his office. There were floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a huge mahogany desk with a leather chair and windows overlooking an interior garden. Everything was dark and masculine. It was power condensed into furniture. He went behind the desk and stood there in a position of authority and control, the boss in his own territory. I stayed standing near the door, defensive and ready to run if it became necessary. Our gazes locked. Lucia Rossi, he began with his voice low and controlled. My entire body froze with every muscle locking and my heart stopping. No. Daughter of Antonio Rossi, he continued relentlessly. Translator who was executed by Enzo Vitale 11 years ago for betrayal, for working with the feds. How did you... My voice came out broken and incredulous. I know everything. He slammed his hand on the desk, and it was the only sign of emotion breaking through his control. I know who you were, who your father was, why you ran, where you've been. I know everything. Anger exploded inside me, sudden and intense, consuming all the fear. Then why ask? I screamed at him. It was the first time I'd ever screamed at him. If you already know everything, why bring me here? Why this whole charade? Because I want to hear it from you, he screamed back. And it was also his first time. His control was cracking. Not from investigators, not from files. I want to hear it from you. Why does it matter? Tears were burning in my eyes with anger and fear all mixed together. Why does anything about me matter to you? Because you matter, he roared, and his voice echoed through the office, silencing everything else. There was absolute silence, shocked and heavy. He took a deep breath, several times actually, trying to regain his control with his hands flat on the desk and his head down. When he looked up, his eyes were different, vulnerable, and true. You matter. His voice was hoarse now and low. More than you should. More than is safe. More than is rational, and I don't know how to deal with that. My heart was beating impossibly loud and impossibly fast. He came around the desk slowly, approaching me with his hands raised in a placating gesture. Sit down. He pointed to the leather sofa near the fireplace. Please. The please broke something in me because this was a man who never asked for anything, and now he was asking. I sat down because my legs were giving out anyway. He sat too, not too close because he was giving me space, but close enough. Tell me, he said softly. Everything. No lies. No filters, just the complete truth. Why? I looked at him through my tears. So you can use it against me later? So you can have more control? Pain crossed his face. Real and visible pain. To protect you, he said simply. That's the difference. It's a huge difference. I need to know what we're facing, who we're facing, and how to keep you safe. Safe? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No one's kept me safe for 11 years. Why would you be any different? Because I am different, he said it absolute and certain. Because I have resources and power. Because Enzo Vitale might be dangerous, but I'm worse. Much worse than him. It was the truth. The complete truth. I took a deep breath, trying to decide how much to tell and how much to hide. But I was tired. 11 years tired of lying and hiding and running. So I told him everything. I told him about my life in Palermo with my translator father and his work that I never questioned. About my mother dying when I was 10, and how it was just the two of us after that. I told him about that night. About being at the library and getting home late to find the dark house. My voice broke as I told him about finding my father on the floor and all that blood, about the 3 men and their words about betrayal and price and lessons, about the gunshot. Tears were falling freely now, and I didn't even try to hide them. I told him about biting my hand so I wouldn't scream, about running and escaping, about Father Benedetto helping me in the boat to France. About the 11 years after that, country after country, name after name, always running and always looking over my shoulder, always waiting to be found, until New York, until 2 years of almost peace and almost normalcy, until today, until the man at the cafe, until reality finally caught up with me. I finished, and silence fell heavy between us. I was exhausted and empty with my entire story finally exposed. I looked at Dante, and he hadn't moved, but his jaw was locked. His hands were closed in fists, and there was absolute fury radiating from him. Not at me, I realized, but for me, for what I'd suffered, and for what I'd lived through. Does Enzo still search for me? I managed to ask with my voice small and scared. Yes, he didn't lie, because he never lied to me. The man today was his. Matteo's interrogating him right now, and he'll find out how much they know, how many there are, and what their plans are. Fear returned. Strong and paralyzing. Then I need to run again, like I always do. I'll change my name, change cities, and disappear. No! The word cut through the air. Absolute and final. He stood up and came to me. Then he knelt in front of me with his hands on my shoulders, firm like an anchor. You don't run anymore. His eyes were fixed on mine. Intense and true. Never again. Do you understand? It's over. The running is over. Dante, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, he cut me off. I understand that you spent 11 years living in fear. I understand that you deserve peace and safety and a home, and I'm going to give you all of that. You can't promise. I can. His hands squeezed lightly. And I do promise. Nothing hurts you anymore. Nobody hunts you anymore. As long as I'm breathing, you're safe. Something in my chest broke. A wall. A defense. All my resistance. Why? I whispered. Why do you care so much? He stayed quiet for a long time, studying my face and deciding something. Then he spoke words that changed everything. Because you're mine now. I pulled back. Shocked. Yours? Mine to protect, he specified, but his eyes said so much more. Mine to care for. Mine to... He stopped with heavy breathing, fighting with the words. Mine to love. All the air left my lungs completely. You don't even know me. I started weakly and without conviction. I do know you, he interrupted me, firm and certain. 2 weeks of watching you, seeing you with my mother, seeing you laugh and cry and heal, seeing you be brave even when you're scared, be strong even when you're broken. He stood up but stayed close, looking down at me with that intensity. You're brave, Lucia. You're loyal and strong, and you're haunted by ghosts that aren't your fault. Just like me. That's not love. I tried to argue, even though I knew it was futile. It's obsession. It's both, he admitted without any shame, and I won't apologize for it. I won't pretend it's normal or healthy or anything other than what it is. It's dark and intense and possessive. He took another step closer. But it's true. It's truer than anything I've felt in my entire life. My heart was beating impossibly fast. You terrify me. I know. He accepted it simply. You make me feel things. I continued with painful honesty. Things I can't even name. What kind of things? His voice dropped and became intimate. Safe and trapped, simultaneously. You are safe, he swore. But never trapped. You can leave right now if you want. The door is open and it always will be. There was a pause, heavy and significant. But, I whispered, because I knew there was more. But my heart goes with you. It was a soft admission, vulnerable and completely human. You take it without choosing to, without even asking for it. You just take it. It was the first time seeing him like this, not as the boss, not as a predator, just as a man who was vulnerable and true and scared of what he was feeling. I stood up slowly, and we stood there too close with the air charged between us. Dante, my voice shook. If I stay here? Yes. He was waiting, anxious. This needs to be a choice. I was firm on this because it was important. My choice, not an obligation. Not a debt, not gratitude. It has to be my choice. You choose, he agreed immediately. Always. Every day. Every moment, you choose to stay or go, and I'll respect it, always. Our faces were very close now with our breaths mixing and heat between us. The tension was impossible. His eyes dropped to my mouth, and then returned with a silent question. My heart stopped, then started, then raced. I leaned in slightly, just millimeters, an invitation and permission. His hand lifted and touched my face, gentle and reverent, as if I were something precious and fragile and important. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull back. His lips were approaching mine, almost touching, almost. There was a knock on the door. We both froze with heavy breathing and absolute frustration. Boss? It was Matteo. Of course it was. Sorry to interrupt, but this is urgent. Dante closed his eyes with his jaw locked, controlling his frustration. 1 minute, he called out with his voice tense. He stepped back and gave me space, but his eyes were still fixed on me with a silent promise that said later, "This isn't over. I need to deal with this," he said reluctantly. "But it's not over between us. Do you understand?" I nodded because I didn't trust my voice. "Mama will show you your room. You should rest and we'll talk more later." He touched my face again, light and gentle. "Stay here, please, just for today. See how you feel being here, and then you can decide." "Okay," I whispered. There was a small smile, true and transforming his entire face. "Thank you." He went to the door and opened it. Matteo was there with a serious expression. "This is important, boss. The interrogation brought us information and it's bad." Dante looked back at me with clear concern in his eyes. "Go," I said. "I'll be fine." He nodded and left with the door closing behind him. I stood there alone in his office, surrounded by his scent, his presence, and all his promises. My heart was racing, my lips were tingling with the almost kiss, and my mind was spinning with everything that had been revealed. The truth was exposed, feelings were admitted, and there was an almost kiss that didn't happen, but something had changed permanently between us. And for the first time in 11 long years, I didn't want to run away. I wanted to stay and see where this would lead, to see if a dangerous man could really be my safety, to see if obsession could actually be love, to see if I could finally stop running and find a home in the arms of the most dangerous man I'd ever met. Chapter 6. Mini plot.
I'm with you. So?
Enzo attacks. 1 week living in the mansion. 7 days had passed since that conversation in the office. since truths were exposed, and since the interrupted almost kiss. A routine had established itself, strange but surprisingly comfortable. The days were spent with Antonella, cooking together, talking in Italian and laughing while she taught me her grandmother's recipes, and I helped her with translations of old family documents she'd kept. It was like having a mother again, that maternal warmth I hadn't felt since I was 10 years old. The nights were with Dante, family dinners with the three of us at a table that was too big but somehow felt cozy, him at the head with Antonella and I on each side. There were conversations and stories and comfortable silences. And there was tension, constant and impossible to ignore. Our gazes would cross the table, his to me and mine to him, held too long and saying things that remained unspoken. There were accidental touches, hands brushing while passing the salt, shoulders touching in the hallway, and every contact was electric and burning. But nothing was consummated. Nothing happened beyond looks and almost touches. It was as if we were both waiting for something, the right moment or the courage. Antonella noticed. Of course she noticed. She'd smile small and knowing, but she didn't comment. She just observed and seemed satisfied with something she saw. Enzo Vitale sat in a dark office in Palermo with a phone at his ear and a report coming in. "Where is she?" His voice was cold and deadly. "New York, Don Vitale. She's with Dante Caruso." There was silence. Long and dangerous. "Caruso?" He finally exploded. "The head of the Cosa Nostra in New York?" "Yes, sir. She's protected and living in his mansion." "How did she get there?" "She saved his mother from an assassination attempt. She took a bullet for her and he became interested." Enzo laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Interested? Caruso never gets interested in anything but power. She must be very special." "It seems so, sir." "Then we take her from him." The decision was made. Simple and final. Send a message that nobody harbors a Rossi. Nobody. But he's very powerful here. "I don't care." He cut him off. "Do it now and bring her to me alive. I want to kill her personally." Shopping in the Upper East Side on Thursday afternoon. Antonella had insisted, "You need clothes, Cara. You can't live in the same things every week." I'd argued, of course, I can just get them from my apartment. "No," she was firm, maternal but completely inflexible. "Dante said you're not to go back there, so we'll buy new ones. It's my gift to you." It was impossible to argue with her when she decided something. So we went with 2 security guards accompanying us, Marco and Luca. They were professional and discreet, but always present. 3 hours later, we had too many bags full of clothes I'd never buy alone. Antonella had impeccable taste and an impossible-to-refuse insistence. "Last store," she promised, while smiling because she knew I was getting tired. "Then we go back home, I promise." The parking lot was quiet in the late afternoon with few people around. Marco went ahead to check. Clear. Luca stayed behind us, vigilant. We reached the black SUV with Marco opening the back door for us. That's when I saw it. A white van appeared too fast with brakes screaming and the side door opening before it even stopped completely. 4 men got out, and they were armed with big guns. Submachine guns. "Get down!" Marco shouted while pushing Antonella and me behind the SUV and pulling his weapon. Shots exploded with the echo bouncing off concrete walls, glass shattering and metal ricocheting everywhere. Marco was shooting back and he hit one of them. Luca was shooting too. It was 2 against 4. They were good and well trained, but they were outnumbered. I saw Luca fall with blood spreading across his chest and his eyes going empty. Marco was still fighting, but he took a shot to the shoulder and then to his leg. Then he fell too. The 4 men kept advancing. 2 of them were dead, but 2 were still alive, still armed and still focused. They were focused on us. "Lucia, run!" Antonella screamed while trying to push me away, but something locked inside me. It was a sudden memory that was too strong to ignore. My father on the floor and all that blood while I ran away. Leaving him there. No, not again. Never again. "No!" I screamed while pulling her back toward me. "Not without you!" I dragged her behind the car. It was minimal protection, but it was something. A shooter appeared coming around the SUV with his gun raised and pointed directly at Antonella. My body moved automatically. Pure instinct. I saw Marco's gun on the ground, maybe 3 meters away. I ran while crouched and grabbed it. It was heavy and cold and felt so wrong in my hands, but it was necessary. I turned around, and the shooter was still aiming at her. I raised the gun with my hands shaking and aimed like my dad had taught me as a child, a game that had just become survival. I pulled the trigger. The recoil was strong, and it hurt my still healing shoulder, but the bullet flew. It hit him center mass in the chest, and the man fell. The second shooter was turning to me now, surprised because a girl with a gun wasn't part of their plan. I shot again and again until he fell too. Then there was silence, sudden and deafening after all that noise. I could hear distant sirens. Someone had called the police. I just stood there with the gun still in my hands, still pointing, my body shaking violently. 2 men were dead, and I had killed them. It was me. Lucia, Antonella touched my arm, gentle and scared, but alive. Kara, let go. You need to let go of the gun. I couldn't because my fingers were locked on the metal. Engines were roaring as black SUVs arrived. 4 of them. Maybe 5, stopping all around us. Men got out and they were armed but uniformed and organized. They were Dante's men. Then he appeared from the first SUV with the door opening before it even stopped completely. His eyes scanned the scene. 2 guards dead, 2 attackers dead, Antonella alive, and Lucia standing there with a gun shaking in her hands. Lucia, his voice was hoarse, and it was the first time I'd heard real fear in him. I looked at him through tears I didn't even feel falling. I killed someone. My legs gave out and I collapsed. The gun finally fell and hit the concrete. Dante crossed the distance in 3 strides and caught me before I hit the ground, holding me tight like an anchor. You saved her, he murmured against my hair. Again, you saved her. I didn't want to kill. Sobs were cutting off my words. I didn't want to. I know. His voice was firm and true. But it was him or you two. Do you understand? It was him or you. I'm not like you, I tried to say because I needed him to know. No, he agreed, and pulled me even closer. You're better. You kill for protection, for love, for survival. I kill for power and control and fear. It was the first time I'd heard self-hatred in his voice, the first moment of seeing him actually hate what he was. And I saw it. I really saw the man beneath the boss, the human beneath the monster, broken in different ways but just as broken as me. Back at the mansion, the doctor checked Antonella and she had no injuries. Just shock, but she was fine. He checked me, and my shoulder had reopened slightly from the gun's recoil, so he put on a new bandage, prescribed more antibiotics, and offered me a sedative. I refused because I needed to feel this, to process it. I didn't want chemical sleep. I took a shower after with water hotter than it should be, trying to wash away blood that wasn't even there anymore, but I could feel it on my skin, on my hands, on the clothes I'd thrown on the floor. I was shaking so much I could barely stand. The crying came, strong and violent, with sobs shaking my entire body. Outside, Dante was leaning against the wall near the door, listening with his jaw locked and his hands closed in fists. Matteo appeared and saw him. Boss, she needs... I know, he cut him off with his voice hoarse. But it can only happen if she lets me. It has to be her choice. And if she doesn't, then I wait. Simple. As long as necessary. 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I'd tried for 2 hours lying down with my eyes closed, but my mind just kept spinning. Images kept coming. The shooter falling. The blood. Those empty eyes. I had killed. I'd taken a life. Even to protect. Even though it was necessary, I'd still killed. I gave up and got up. I was wearing silk pajamas that Antonella had bought. They were soft and comfortable, and very far from who I used to be. I left my room, and the hallway was dark and quiet with the house sleeping. I went to the kitchen, maybe for water, maybe for air, maybe for something that would make me feel less. The lights were already on, and someone was there. It was Dante sitting at the center island with a glass of something amber in his hand, probably whiskey. His hair was messy, and his shirt had the top buttons open with sleeves rolled up. And he was barefoot. He looked vulnerable and human and tired. He looked up when I entered. Can't sleep? No. I sat across from him at a safe distance. You either? No. He pushed the bottle toward me. Nightmares? Not yet. I was being honest. But they'll come. They always do. There was knowledge in his voice. Experience. Wine? Whiskey's too strong for you. Please. He stood up and got wine in a glass, poured it and pushed it toward me. I drank. And it was dry and good, probably expensive. It warmed me going down. There was silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was shared, 2 broken souls awake while the world slept. First time? He finally asked, soft and careful. Killing? Yes. I looked at the glass because it was easier than looking at him, and I can't stop seeing it. Him falling. The blood. His eyes. I know. His voice was low and true. It never gets easy, and if it does, then you've lost your humanity. I looked at him, surprised. It doesn't get easy. Not even for you. No. He met my eyes, honest. The first man I killed, I was 19 and he was 22. It was a family war, him or me. He paused and drank. I still see him sometimes in my nightmares. How do you handle it? I needed to know. How do you keep going? By knowing I protect those I love. His gaze intensified. That every death has a purpose. Protection, not pleasure. He looked at me, and the meaning was clear. Like today, you killed, but you also saved. The difference matters. Enzo won't stop. My voice came out small and scared. Today was just a warning. Next time. There won't be a next time. It was absolute and final, because I'm going to stop him. Dante, he dies, he interrupted with dark determination in his gaze. For you, for Mama, for peace. Enzo Vitale dies and it'll be soon. It was the truth, a promise and a vow of death. I should have been afraid of this coldness, this determination to kill, but I only felt relief, because he would do it. He would protect us, and he would end the threat. If you do this, I started because I needed to say it. If you kill for me, yes? He was waiting. I don't want to carry more death. I looked at him, begging him to understand. I already carry my father, and now 2 men from today. I can't. You won't. His hand covered mine, large and warm, an anchor. I carry it, always. Every death, every drop of blood, I carry it alone. You only carry the peace that comes after, I promise you. Tears burned in my eyes. How do you do this? Make me feel safe in such a violent world? By being more violent than any threat. It was simple, a dark truth. By being the worst nightmare of anyone who looks at you wrong. There was silence with our hands still connected and our gazes locked. Stay with me, he finally said, soft and vulnerable. Tonight, just stay. I don't want you alone after this. Where? I whispered. My room. He saw panic starting and continued quickly. Just to sleep. I promise. Nothing more. I just don't want you alone with the nightmares that are coming. It was the first time. The first real vulnerability accepted. The first choice to trust completely. Okay, I whispered. Relief crossed his face and he squeezed my hand. Thank you. He stood up and guided me through the dark house, up the stairs, down the hallway and to his door. His room was dark and masculine with his scent everywhere, comforting in a strange way. There was a large bed, and he took the left side, leaving the right for me with space between us. Respectful. I lay down and pulled the blanket up with my body finally relaxing because I knew I was safe. He lay down too, not touching me, just present and close and available. Dante? My voice was small in the dark. Yes, thank you for everything. For protecting me. For caring. For being you. There was silence, and then his hand found mine, intertwining our fingers. Always, Lucia, he promised in the dark. I'll always protect you. Always care. Always. I slept for the first time since the shooting, for the first time since killing. I slept safe and protected and cared for, next to the most dangerous man I'd ever met, and I'd never felt so safe in my entire life. Chapter 7. Obsessive Protection.
I told you so. Ian.
3 weeks had passed since the parking lot attack. Dante's obsession had intensified. No, intensified was too mild a word. It had exploded and consumed everything. It became an absolute rule in the mansion. I didn't go out without him, or without 6 guards at minimum. Sometimes it was 8. This is excessive, I complained for the 5th time, maybe the 10th. I need air and freedom and space. You need to stay alive, he corrected, without any remorse and without any negotiation. Space is a luxury, but life is a necessity, so choose. It was impossible to argue with his twisted logic. My phone was tracked, and he admitted it without shame when I asked him about it. How did you know I was at the cafe that day? I'd questioned him. GPS tracking. You what? You heard me perfectly. He was calm and infuriating, and I'm not stopping. So just accept it. I should have fought more. I should have demanded privacy and made a scene. But there was a part of me, the part that was tired of 11 years of running, the part that wanted protection more than privacy. That part accepted it. And he knew. He saw it in my face. And there was dark satisfaction in his eyes. The war against Enzo was happening. Silent, but brutal. Matteo would report sometimes when Dante thought I wasn't listening, but walls were thin when you paid attention. His lieutenant in Brooklyn has been eliminated. The drug operation in Queens has been dismantled. His contact in Sicily has been neutralized. Neutralized. Such a pretty word for dead. Dante was systematically destroying Enzo's entire empire. Killing his lieutenants, cutting his resources, and isolating him completely. I should have hated it. All the violence and death, all the blood on his hands that was growing because of me. But I didn't hate it. Instead, I felt safe and protected, even avenged in a dark way. And that scared me. The fact that I was liking this, liking him like this. Is this wrong? I asked Antonella on Saturday afternoon while we were cooking together, making carbonara. Hers was still better, but I was learning. What is wrong, Cara? She stirred the pasta, focused but listening. Liking that he's like this. I struggled with the words. Protective and possessive and violent when it's necessary. She stopped what she was doing and looked at me for a long time, studying me. Love isn't always right, Lucia, she finally said with wisdom and truth. Sometimes it's dark and complicated and even scary. But it's true. She took my hand and squeezed it. My son loves you in his way. It's intense and possessive and protective. That's just who he is. And me loving that makes me human, she smiled. It makes you human, wanting protection after years of running, wanting someone who'll fight for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Tears burned in my eyes. Sometimes I think I'm going crazy. You're not crazy. She hugged me tight and maternal. You're in love. There's a difference. The micro moments between us kept growing. Mornings became sacred. We'd have coffee together always. These rituals established themselves without any planning. He'd arrive in the kitchen at 7 in the morning, punctual as clockwork in his dress shirt and tailored pants, ready for the day, but with his hair still slightly messy, vulnerable at the start of the day. I was already there in my pajamas and robe with my hair in a messy bun and no makeup, completely natural. There were prolonged gazes, his to me and mine to him, as if we were memorizing each other. We'd pass the coffee cup, and our fingers would touch. Electric and brief, but so significant. We'd sit with him reading his newspaper and me with my book. Comfortable silences where we just existed together. There was still never a kiss, but the promise hung in the air, inevitable and just waiting for the right moment. Nights were different, more family-oriented. We'd watch movies with Antonella, usually Italian films, sometimes American, always the three of us on the huge living room couch. One night during a particularly boring movie, I was tired from translating all day. I nodded off and my head fell, finding Dante's shoulder automatically without even thinking. He froze completely with his body locked. Then he relaxed slowly and carefully, not wanting to wake me up. He stayed absolutely still for 40 minutes until the movie ended. Didn't even adjust his position even though his arm was probably numb, but he didn't move because he didn't want to wake me. When I finally woke up, I looked up, and he was looking down at me with an expression that was soft and tender and rare. I fell asleep on you. Obvious statement. Yes, his voice was hoarse. Why didn't you wake me? Because you needed it. Simple. And I liked it. Antonella was on the other side, smiling with her phone in hand. She'd taken a photo. Later, I saw it. The two of us with me sleeping on his shoulder, and him looking at me like I was something precious, an expression he never showed when I was awake. We looked like a couple, real and true. It was scary and desired at the same time. The jealousy incident happened in week 3. A client called Alessandro. He was Italian and had been hiring me for months for freelance work, translating commercial contracts. His tone was always friendly, professional, but warm, completely normal. I answered in the living room and didn't notice that Dante was in the hallway listening. Lucia, how are you, Bella? Alessandro was animated as always. I'm good, grazie, and you? We had a conversation about work, and I laughed at his joke about formal Italian in contracts. I hung up and turned around. Dante was there with dark eyes and his jaw locked, looking dangerous. Who was that? His voice was low and too controlled. A client, I said casually, not understanding the problem. A man. Yes? I was confused. So what? I don't like it. Simple and possessive. You have no right. I started as anger rose in me. I do. He took a step closer, invading my space with his eyes fixed and intense. You're mine. I'm not property, I screamed. It was our first real fight. No, he agreed, but he didn't step back. You're my person. There's a difference. A huge difference. There's no difference. I pushed his chest, but it was solid and immovable. You don't own me, don't I? He caught my wrists, gentle but firm. My heart is with you. My protection covers you. My thoughts revolve around you. And you feel the same about me. It was the truth. Damn truth. That doesn't give you the right to be jealous of a client, I argued weakly. It does. He didn't back down. Because I love you, and men in love are irrational about threats. Alessandro isn't a threat. Every man is a threat. Absolute possessiveness. Until proven otherwise. It was impossible and frustrating and infuriating. I pulled my hands away and he let go. He wouldn't hold me against my will. You're impossible, I shouted, while walking out and slamming the door. It was our first real fight with actual shouting. Flowers appeared 4 hours later. They were in my room on the bed, a huge bouquet of white daisies, just like those from the market the day everything began. There was a card in his handwriting. Strong and masculine. Sorry, don't know how to be normal with feelings. Only know how to protect and love. I'm a possessive idiot, but you're idiot if you'll let me. A laugh escaped even though I was annoyed and frustrated. I still laughed. Possessive idiot. It was the absolute truth. I took the flowers and went to his office without knocking, just entered. He was behind the desk and looked up with hope and fear in his eyes. You're a possessive idiot, I said. Yes, he didn't deny it. And Alessandro is just a client, professional and nothing more. Understood. But you're still going to hate it when he calls. Yes, honest to the point of pain. I sighed long and tired. You're idiot? There was a pause with hope growing in those dark eyes. Maybe. His smile was rare and beautiful, completely transforming his face, making him look young and happy and real. He stood up and came to me, pulling me into a strong embrace that was safe, a silent apology. I accepted it because I loved the possessive idiot. His nightmare happened in week 4. It was 3 a.m. when a scream woke me up. It was coming from the room next door, from his room. My heart raced. Was it danger? An attack? I ran without thinking and opened his bedroom door. It was dark, with only city light filtering through the curtains. Dante was in bed, sweating and shaking and screaming unintelligible words. A nightmare was consuming him. "Dante," I called out, and ran to the bed, shaking his shoulder. "Wake up." His eyes opened, disoriented and lost, looking for the threat. "Lucia?" His voice was broken and confused. "You were having a nightmare." I sat on the edge of the bed with my hand on his chest, feeling his racing heart. Just a nightmare. Reality returned with recognition, and then shame. "Leave." He turned away, giving me his back. "Go away." "No." I was firm and stubborn. "Lucia." "No." I repeated even stronger, and I climbed onto the bed, sitting against the headboard close to him. What was it about? There was silence, long and refusing to answer. "Dante," I said softly now with my hand on his shoulder. "Talk to me." Heavy breathing, and then his voice came low and broken. "My father dying. All the blood, not being able to save him." There was a pause, and then even lower, almost inaudible. "And you were dead. Enzo was killing you while I watched, unable to move or protect you." My heart clenched painfully, but I'm alive. I lay down beside him with my hand on his face, turning him toward me. "I'm here, and I'm safe." His eyes were shining and moist. It was the first time I'd seen tears in them. "I'm so afraid of losing you." It was a ripped admission, vulnerable. "More than anything or anyone, you're everything to me." He broke completely with tears falling and sobs that shook his large body. I held him tight, just like he'd held me, offering protection back to him. "You won't lose me," I promised, firm and true. "I promise you. I'm here and I'm staying." "You promise?" His voice was small, a scared child beneath the dangerous man. "I promise." I kissed his forehead, gentle and maternal and loving. We cried together and then we talked, low and intimate, sharing secrets in the darkness. His fears and my fears, pasts that haunted us and futures we wanted. We fell asleep like that, intertwined and safe in each other. I woke up in his arms. Morning light was filtering in. It was maybe 8 o'clock. Late for us. I was nestled against his chest with his arm around me, holding me even in sleep, still protecting me. The realization hit me, soft at first, then strong, then completely overwhelming. I'm in love with him. No, that was wrong. I'm in love with him. Shit, I whispered, as reality hit me. "Good morning to you too." His voice was hoarse from sleep. He was waking up. I looked up, and he was looking down at me with a small smile, happy and more rested than he'd been in weeks. "Dante, the words got stuck. I was scared because this was too important. "Yes?" He was waiting, patient, but hopeful. I needed courage, the same kind that made me jump in front of a bullet. "I'm in love with you." He froze completely. Even his breathing stopped. "Say it again." It was an order and a plea. He needed confirmation. "You heard me." He pulled me hard until I was on top of him, face to face with our eyes fixed and intense. Again, it wasn't a request but a need. "I love you, you idiot." I smiled through tears. "I love you completely. Obsession and all." His smile was huge and true, pure joy transforming his face. "Finally," he breathed. "Finally, mio amore." He pulled me closer until our foreheads touched and our breaths mixed. "I love you too," he murmured. "Since the bullet, since the first look, always. I'll always love you." It was a perfect moment, suspended in time with the promise of a kiss hanging between us. For the first time in 11 years, I felt complete and whole, in the arms of the most dangerous man I'd ever met. My possessive idiot, my love, mine. Chapter 8, Enzo's Endgame.
What happened?
Enzo Vitale sat in a dark office in an abandoned Brooklyn warehouse, with a map of New York spread on the table. Locations were marked in red, showing lost operations, dead men, and missing money, all because of Caruso. 3 weeks? Just 3 weeks, and his empire was crumbling with lieutenants eliminated, routes cut, and contacts neutralized. Matteo entered, his lieutenant, and the last one remaining, Don Vitale. And? His voice was cold and deadly. "We lost the Queen's operation. Caruso took everything, the drugs, the money, and the men." His fist came down on the table and the wood cracked. "Caruso!" There was silence, heavy and dangerous. "He does this for her," Enzo finally said as understanding hit him. "The Rossi girl, he loves her." "Yes, sir. Our informants confirm it. He's obsessive with her." A slow smile appeared. "Cruel. Then we take her. He comes to save her. We kill both, and the problem is solved. But she's protected in his mansion with all those guards. Then we get her out of there, he interrupted. We use bait, something she can't resist. What kind of bait? Enzo thought for a moment, and then smiled. Dangerous. The priest, the one who helped her escape. Benedetto. Where is he? Still in Italy, in Palermo. Send her a message saying he's in New York, that he wants to see her, that he misses her, and wants to give her a blessing. Enzo leaned forward. She won't be able to resist. She'll come out, and we take her. The message arrived on Thursday from an unknown number. Lucia, this is Father Benedetto. I'm in New York visiting parishes. Would very much like to see you. Prayer and blessing. I'm at Chiesa di San Antonio. Come when you can. With love, Father. My heart stopped, and then exploded in happiness. Father Benedetto, the man who saved me, who risked everything helping me escape 11 years ago. He was here in New York. I ran to the living room where Dante was working on his laptop. He looked up when I entered with an automatic smile, seeing me. Father Benedetto is here. I showed him my phone, excited and happy. In New York. He wants to see me. His smile died and his eyes narrowed. He took the phone from me, read it, and then reread it. This could be a trap. His voice was cautious and serious. My happiness cooled. What? No, it's the father. He saved me. Exactly. He looked at me, intense and worried. Enzo knows that. He's investigated you. He knows the story. It's perfect for bait. But it could be real too, I argued, because I wanted to believe. Him visiting and wanting to bless me and give me peace. Lucia, he would never hurt me, Dante. I was firm and certain of this. Never. He's a man of God. He's kind and loving. Dante looked at me for a long time with an internal war clear on his face. I'm going, I decided. With security. As many as you want, but I'm going, please. He closed his eyes and breathed deep, then opened them with defeat and fear mixed together. 4 guards, all armed, and you don't leave my visual range until we confirm it's real. Okay, I was relieved and grateful. Thank you. He pulled me in for a strong embrace. If it's a trap, if something happens, I kill everyone. Do you understand? Everyone. Nothing will happen, I promised while believing it. It was a mistake. My mistake. Chiesa di San Antonio was an old Italian church in Little Italy. Beautiful and traditional with stained glass windows, dark wooden pews, and the smell of incense. I arrived with 4 guards. Marco, Luca, Giovanni, and Paolo. They were professional and alert, but respectful in the church. I'm going in, I said. Can you stay here? Boss said not to lose sight of you. Marco was firm. It's a church, I pointed out the obvious. A safe place. It's sacred. They exchanged looks, and finally agreed, reluctant. 2 of us go with you, and 2 stay at the door. Okay? We entered, and the church was empty and quiet with only candles flickering in the sacred silence. Father? I called out with my voice echoing. Father Benedetto? Nothing. I walked down the center aisle toward the altar with the guards behind me, attentive. Something was wrong. I felt it. My instinct was screaming. Father? I tried again, louder. Silence. Then I realized. Too late. It's a trap, I whispered in absolute terror. The doors slammed shut and locked with the sound of heavy metal. Definitive. Get out! Marco shouted while pushing me and pulling his weapon. Gas started pouring from the ventilation, white and dense with a chemical smell. Hold your breath. Giovanni was already staggering. It was impossible because there was too much gas, and it was coming too fast. I saw Marco fall, and then Luca. Giovanni was fighting it, and Paolo ran to me trying to protect me. He fell at my feet. I ran to the door, but it was locked. I tried the windows, but they were too high with bars. We were trapped. My lungs were burning, and I needed air. So I breathed, and it was a mistake. The gas filled me, sweet and chemical with immediate sleep. I fought as much as I could, longer than the guards because I didn't have their training, but I had will. The door was opening, and a figure entered wearing a gas mask. Ciao, Lucia. The voice was muffled but recognizable. It was Enzo Vitale. Everything went dark. Where is she? Dante roared with the phone crushed in his hand. It had been 30 minutes. 30 minutes without a report. Boss, Matteo tried. Now! To the church. Let's go. The SUVs tore through the streets with sirens ignored and laws broken. It didn't matter because nothing mattered except Lucia. They reached the Chiesa in 6 minutes. A record. The door was broken down with Dante first inside, gun in hand and ready to kill anything. The church was empty, and the gas had dissipated, but the smell was still present. There were 4 bodies, the guards, all dead and executed with shots to the back of the head. Lucia was gone. No! The scream tore from Dante, pure pain and absolute terror. Lucia! He searched desperately, every corner and every space. Nothing. She wasn't there. Matteo held his shoulder. Boss, we'll find her. Dante turned with his eyes wild and dangerous. Beyond rational. Enzo, he roared. He has her, and I'm going to kill him. He grabbed his phone and made calls to all his contacts, his entire network, and every informant. every resource. Find her now. Doesn't matter what it costs. Doesn't matter who dies. Find her. I woke up in darkness, cold and damp with the smell of mold and salt. The docks, a warehouse, abandoned from the sound of the echo. I was tied up in a metal chair with tight ropes, and my wrists were bleeding from trying to get free. I felt fear, pure and absolute. A light turned on, bright and offensive, hurting my eyes. Footsteps approached, slow and dramatic. Enzo Vitale appeared. He was in his 50s with gray hair and an expensive suit. His eyes were cold and dead. The man who killed my father. Finally, his voice was soft, almost gentle, more frightening than shouting. 11 years searching and here you are. Are you going to kill me? I tried to sound brave, but my voice trembled and betrayed me. Obviously, there was a small smile. Cruel. But first Caruso comes to save you, playing the idiotic hero. I kill him and then you. 2 debts paid in one night. He'll destroy you. It was absolute truth. Because I knew Dante and I knew his fury. We'll see. He wasn't worried, confident and wrong. He circled around me, studying me like a predator with prey. Your father begged, he said casually. He cried and asked for mercy for his precious little daughter. Tears burned in my eyes. Shut up. He begged like a coward, he continued, sadistic, just like you're going to beg. I spat at him, at his face. It was all I could do while tied up. The punch came fast and brutal with my cheek exploding in pain and the taste of blood. Brave, he wiped the spit off. Like him, before breaking, you'll break too. Never. It was a promise and a vow. Another punch came, and then another with my nose cracking and blood gushing. The pain was intense, but my anger was stronger. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cry and I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Just like Dad didn't in the end, he died brave. I would die the same way if I had to. Matteo found it through an informant at the docks. Payment was tripled, but he found it. Warehouse 47 at the Brooklyn docks. Enzo's there with her. Dante didn't wait, didn't plan, and didn't think. I'm going alone. Boss! Matteo grabbed him. That's suicide. Take a team. No, he pulled free with his eyes beyond rational. He wants me, and he'll get me but alone. If I bring an army, he kills her first. Dante. It's for her, Matteo. His voice broke. Everything is for her. If I die saving her, then it's worth it. He got in the SUV and drove alone with weapons, ammunition, and determination. The warehouse appeared, dark and silent and frightening. He got out with a gun in hand, another in his vest, and a knife at his ankle. Prepared for war, he entered. Enzo! His shout echoed. A challenge and a promise. The lights turned on, revealing everything. Enzo was in the center, smiling with Lucia behind him, tied up and bleeding but alive. There was relief, brief, then fury. Caruso, punctual. Enzo was calm and confident. Let her go. Dante's voice was deadly with his control hanging by a thread. Or what? Or I kill you slowly and creatively and painfully. There was laughter. Try. He gave a signal and men appeared, 6 of them armed and surrounding Dante. Gunfire exploded. Dante moved with training and instinct, his fury channeling into precision. The first man, shot in the head, fell. The second, chest with a double tap, fell. The third was coming, so Dante rolled and shot. He fell. The fourth and fifth came together, difficult but possible. He shot, moved, and shot again. Both fell. The sixth and last one tried to run. Dante chased him, caught him, and broke his neck. Quick and fast. There was silence. 6 men dead and Dante alive, bleeding but functional. Enzo was still there with a knife in hand now, and his smile had died. Impressive, he admitted, but not enough. He lunged. Fast for his age and trained, they fought hand to hand, brutal with no rules. Punches and kicks, the knife cutting with Dante dodging and landing hits. Dominating. But Enzo was experienced and dirty. A low kick made Dante stumble. Enzo took advantage and brought him down, mounted him with the knife descending. While they fought, I worked the ropes with my teeth and nails. Anything. They came loose finally. My wrists were bleeding, but I was free. I stood up staggering, dizzy from the punches, but on my feet. There was a gun on the floor, fallen from a dead guard. I grabbed it, heavy and cold but familiar now. It was the 3rd time picking one up. I saw Enzo over Dante with the knife descending toward his neck. Die, Caruso! No! No! I raised the gun and aimed without shaking this time, certain and absolute. I pulled the trigger. Bang! Enzo stopped with his eyes widening. He looked down at the blood pouring from his chest. He fell sideways off Dante, dead before hitting the ground. Dante looked at the body, and then at me with the smoking gun and my determined expression. Lucia, there was shock and pride and relief, all mixed together. I dropped the gun and ran with my legs giving out, but I reached him. I fell into his arms in a desperate embrace, tight and confirming this was real. We were alive. Are you okay? His hands were everywhere, checking me. Did he hurt you? How much? I'm fine. It was a lie because everything hurt, but I was alive. Are you okay? I am. He pulled me closer. You saved me again. You're always saving me. I learned from the best. I smiled through tears and blood. Our gazes locked. Intense and true. Alive. and together. He leaned in, and I lifted up, meeting him. A kiss. Finally. It was desperate and hungry and needed, tasting blood and tears and victory and love. His hands were in my hair, holding me like I might disappear, and my hands were on his face, confirming he was real and solid and mine. It was a kiss that promised everything, always, and together, and never apart. There were distant sirens getting closer because Mateo had called backup as always, but it didn't matter because nothing mattered except this moment, this kiss, and this truth. Together and alive and victorious, against Enzo, against the past, and against everything. Together, always. Chapter 9.
Dante. Come out. I know you're here.
The irony didn't go unnoticed because 2 months ago I'd woken up here with a bullet in my shoulder after saving Antonella and meeting Dante for the first time. Now I was back with bruises all over my body, cuts on my face and bruised ribs, but I was alive and victorious. Dante was in the room next door, with a knife wound to his shoulder, superficial according to the doctors who said it wasn't serious, but it hurt, and I could see it in the way he moved. Antonella was between us, going back and forth, crying and laughing, grateful and relieved that her family was complete and intact. You too? She shook her head with tears streaming down her face. You're killing me with worry. Sorry, Mama, Dante said, contrite and rare. Don't be sorry, just stop putting yourselves in danger. But she hugged him tight anyway. Grazie Dio. You're both alive. She hugged me after, longer and tighter. My brave girl, you saved him just like you saved me. He saved me first. It was the truth. We did it together, always together. She smiled through her tears. Together? Yes, always together now. It was night, late. The nurses had already passed and the lights were low with the hospital quiet. My room door opened slowly and carefully. It was Dante, limping slightly with his shoulder bandaged but standing and moving. You should be resting. I sat up. Worried. I needed to see you. He closed the door and crossed the room with each step measured, painful but determined. He sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to hurt me or himself, our gazes connected, intense and true and alive. You killed for me, he said, as if he was still processing it, as if he didn't completely believe it. Yes, simple truth. How do you feel? He genuinely wanted to know, worried about me. I thought about it honestly, checking my feelings, relieved. He can't hunt me anymore. Nobody can. It's over. I'm sorry you had to, he started. No, I cut him off, firm. Don't apologize for anything. I chose to do it. For you, for us, and I'd do it again 1,000 times. His eyes shone with raw emotion, vulnerable. When I thought I was going to lose you, his voice broke and he didn't finish. He didn't need to. You won't? I took his hand and intertwined our fingers. You won't lose me. Never. Promise? I promise. I'm here. And I'm bound to you now. His laugh was wet. Bound? Forever, I confirmed while smiling. That's possessive. It was an accusation without any bite. Always. No shame. Absolute truth. You made me this way. He pulled me in gently, conscious of our injuries, forehead to forehead with our breaths mixing. You're my soul, Lucia, he whispered, intimate and true. The part I thought I'd lost, the part I never thought I'd find. Tears came, warm and happy. Dante, I love you. He said it firmly and certain, completely. All your light and all your darkness, everything. Me too. I held his face with my thumb, wiping away a tear that escaped. Even knowing who you are, who am I? It was a real question. He needed to hear it. A monster, honest but smiling, dangerous and violent, possessive beyond what's rational. I paused with my eyes fixed on his. But you're my monster, I finished. My protector, my love, mine. His smile was dark and happy and satisfied and complete. Yours, always yours. He kissed me gently this time without desperation, just love that was pure and true and promised. 1 week later, we were at home in the mansion. We were recovering together with him resting his arm and me healing my face. The bruises were fading and turning yellow and then disappearing to nothing. Antonella was happy and radiant because her family was finally complete. She had 2 children now, just like she'd always wanted. My family, she'd say, while looking at the 2 of us and smiling, complete and perfect. A new routine established itself, different and better, because now I officially lived there. Not visiting and not temporary, it was home. And my room was no longer the guest room. It was Dante's room. Our room, finally. Friday dinner with the family. Antonella had cooked ossobuco using Nona's recipe. It was special. We talked and laughed with wine flowing. There was comfort and love and peace. After dessert was finished, Antonella stood up and stretched. Way too obvious. I'm going to bed early today, she announced with a smile at the corner of her mouth. You two, enjoy yourselves. Antonella, I blushed because it was impossible not to. What? She laughed without any shame. You're adults, and you're practically engaged. So enjoy. She left while laughing, leaving us alone. Silence fell, and it wasn't uncomfortable, but it was charged and tense with promise hanging in the air. She's not subtle, Dante said dryly. No, I laughed, nervous and happy. Not at all. More silence with gazes connecting, desire and love all mixed together. Finally, we were without interruptions, without threats, without danger, just us. Dante stood up with his hand extended. Come with me. Where? I whispered, even though I knew the answer. Our room. That word sent a shiver through me, good and expected and desired. I accepted his hand with our fingers intertwining, and he pulled gently, guiding me through the house, up the stairs, down the hallway and to the door. He closed it behind us with the lock turning, a definitive sound and important. We turned and faced each other with our gazes locked. Are we sure about this? I asked, giving us one last chance to pull back. Not that I wanted to. Are you? He returned the question, throwing it back at me. Yes, no hesitation. And you? Since I saw you save my mother, he admitted honestly. Since that first look. Liar, I accused him playfully. You didn't even know my name. But I knew you were brave. He took a step closer, invading my space. I knew you were mine. Possessive. He kissed me, cutting off the word. A word I'd said 1,000 times but never tired of saying. The kiss deepened with hands exploring, his on me and mine on him, discovering and memorizing and loving. The bedroom door was behind us with the bed waiting, a promise of our future together. After, much later with the moon high in the window and the city sleeping below, I was on his chest with my fingers tracing his scars. There were many with a history in each one. Does each one have a story? I asked softly and intimately. Yes, his voice was hoarse, satisfied and happy. Will you tell me about them? All of them, he promised with his hand in my hair, caressing. We have time. Do we? I looked up, meeting those dark eyes that were happy and complete. Forever, remember? He smiled. True and rare and beautiful. I promised. That's a big promise, I pointed out. It's a sacred promise, he corrected, serious now and true. Every word, every vow is sacred. He kissed the top of my head, gentle and loving and protective. I slept feeling safe and loved and complete. 3 days later, in the morning during coffee as always, our beloved routine. Dante was quieter than usual. Nervous, maybe? That was impossible because Dante was never nervous. Is everything okay? I asked. Yes, he answered too quickly. That's a lie. He looked at me, studied me, and decided something. Marry me. I almost dropped my coffee. What? Marry me, he repeated, firmer and more certain. Officially, in a church with Antonella crying and a priest and vows, everything. My heart raced impossibly fast and happy. Is this a request? It's a declaration, he corrected as always because he didn't ask. He declared. You don't even have a ring, I argued weakly and without conviction. There was a small smile, knowing, and he pulled a box from his pocket. Blue velvet, old and precious. He opened it. The ring was beautiful and antique, gold with a diamond. Simple but perfect and clearly Italian. It was my nonna's, he explained softly and emotionally. Mama kept it for the right person. Tears came. Antonella knew about this? I asked her permission yesterday, he admitted. She said you're already her daughter, that you always would be, but that making it official would be better. I laughed through my tears. She planned this whole thing, completely, he agreed, while smiling. But I agree with her. Marry me, Lucia. Be mine officially and eternally. Yes, it came out before I could even think. Yes, he verified, hopeful. Yes, you idiot, I screamed and jumped and hugged him. Yes, 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 he laughed, true and loud and happy, then spun me around, careful with our injuries but joyful. He put the ring on my finger, and it was a perfect fit, as if it had been made for me. He kissed me deep with promises, and our future sealed. Antonella appeared at the kitchen door, crying and happy and waiting. I knew it, she shouted. I knew you two would get married. She hugged both of us tight, our family complete and perfect and loved. My children, she cried happily, you're getting married? Our family is officially complete. We laughed and cried and celebrated together. Chapter 10, Forever, Dark and Light.
We won together.
6 months later, I woke up to sun streaming through the window, soft and golden and perfect, because today was the day. I turned and Dante was still sleeping, which was rare because he always woke up first. But yesterday had been long with final preparations, and Antonella insisting on traditions, saying the bride and groom couldn't see each other the day before the wedding. I'd slept in the guest room, our first night apart in months, and we both hated it. But Antonella was inflexible, saying, Tradition, Cara. It brings luck. So we obeyed reluctantly. But now on the wedding morning he'd come, of course, because he couldn't stand being away. He came in at 6 in the morning and lay beside me, just holding me in silence, needing the contact. I smiled while touching his face with my thumb, tracing his jaw. The 2-day stubble was on purpose because I liked it that way. and his eyes opened slowly, focusing on me with an automatic smile. "Good morning, future husband," I whispered. "Good morning, future wife." His voice was hoarse with sleep as he answered, "Today." "Today," I confirmed with my heart racing, happy and nervous and excited. "Do you still want to?" It was a real question, giving me one last chance to back out. More than I want to breathe, it was absolute truth. He kissed me softly, promising me too. The Italian church in Little Italy called Chiesa di San Gennaro was small and intimate and perfect. It wasn't the same one where the trap had happened because I'd never go back there. But this one was beautiful and old, sacred in a different way. The preparation was controlled chaos with Antonella commanding like a wedding general, efficient and loving and perfect, saying, "Hair like this, no like this, perfect, and makeup soft and natural, Bella." And when she saw the dress, she said, "Madonna Lucia, you're so beautiful." The dress was simple like I'd asked for. White silk without shine and without drama. Just elegant and falling perfectly with an open back and long sleeves. Discreet but beautiful. And the veil was short Italian lace from Dante's Nonna, just like the ring. Tradition and family. Love passed from the past to the present. Chiara, as my maid of honor, wore navy blue with her curly hair up. She looked beautiful and was already crying, shouting for the 10th time, "You're getting married to a mafia boss. This is like a movie. It's life," I corrected while smiling. "My life, finally. I'm so happy for you, honey." She hugged me tight. "You deserve everything. Absolutely everything." Antonella entered and stopped with her hand over her mouth, immediate tears falling. "Lucia," she whispered, "cara mia, you're perfect." "You think so?" I was nervous and wanted her approval, especially hers. "I know so." She came close and took my hands. "My son is going to cry, I'm sure of it." Dante doesn't cry. It was impossible to imagine. He will today. She smiled knowingly. "He will." She touched my face in a maternal and loving way. "Welcome to the family officially. Mia Figlia, my daughter. You always were, but today it becomes official." I cried carefully because of my makeup, but it was impossible to hold back. "I love you, Antonella, as a mother and as family." "I love you too, Cara." She hugged me tight. "More than you know." The music started, soft and Italian and classical, and it was time. I didn't have a father to walk me down the aisle, but I had Matteo, Dante's right hand and friend and protector. Our chosen family. "Ready?" He offered his arm. "Ready," I accepted, firm and certain. The doors opened and the small church was full of family and friends, people who mattered. First I saw Antonella in the first row already crying, happy and proud, and then I saw Dante. He was at the altar in an impeccable black suit with a gray vest and silver tie. His hair was pulled back and he looked perfect, but his face, the expression when he saw me made him freeze with his mouth opening slightly and his eyes widening, shining and wet. Antonella was right. He was crying with silent tears falling and he didn't try to hide them. He just let the emotion show, raw and true and vulnerable. I walked slowly with each step measured and my eyes fixed on him. Only him, until Matteo gave me away and I placed my hand in Dante's. There was immediate connection, electric and home. "Beautiful," he whispered just for me. "The most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "You too," I smiled through the veil. Father Benedetto was there. He was really there. He'd come from Palermo to marry me. The girl he'd saved 11 years ago. Lucia. His voice was emotional. "My girl who's now a woman, getting married and happy. Grazie, Padre." New tears fell. For everything. For saving me. And for coming here. I wouldn't miss it for anything. He took our hands and joined them together. "Shall we begin?" The ceremony was beautiful and simple, Italian and traditional with readings in Italian, prayers and blessings. But the vows were ours, personal and true. Father Benedetto nodded. "Dante, your vows." He breathed deep with his eyes on mine, holding my hands tight. "Lucia," he began with his voice firm but emotional. "You saved me before you saved my mother. You saved me from an empty life. From existence without light, from a dead heart." He paused, controlling his breathing and emotion. "I promise to protect you always, from everything and from everyone, even from myself if that's necessary." There was soft laughter in the church, recognizing the truth. "I promise to love you, all of you, your light and darkness, strength and fear, past and future, and I promise to be worthy every day of you, your love and your courage, always." Tears flowed freely from him, from me, and from everyone. "Lucia, your vows," Father Benedetto said gently. I breathed, trembling, happy and scared and complete. "Dante," my voice came out firm and clear and true. "You gave me a home after 11 years of running. You gave me family when I was alone. You gave me peace when I only knew fear." I squeezed his hands as my anchor. "You gave me dark love, intense and possessive and completely true, and I love it. I love all of it. every part of it. I promised to stay always, to not run anymore, to not hide and to not be afraid. I promised to fight for you, for us, against anything together, and I promised to love you, all of you, the man, the protector, and the monster when necessary, all of you always. Silence fell, heavy and beautiful and sacred. The rings. Father Benedetto was smiling through his own tears. Matteo handed over the simple gold rings that were engraved inside with our names, dates, and promises. Dante placed it on my finger. With this ring I thee wed. I placed it on his with trembling hands. With this ring I thee wed. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Father Benedetto was joyful and triumphant. You may kiss the bride. Dante didn't wait. He pulled me close while throwing back the veil, his hands on my face and his lips on mine, in a deep kiss that was true and promised and eternal, while the church exploded in applause and shouts and joy and celebration. But we were just us, kissing and sealing and promising, married finally and officially and eternally. The reception was in the mansion garden with white tents and flowers everywhere, white daisies as always, our flower, with music and Italian food and wine and laughter and love. The first dance was just us in the center with everyone watching, classic Italian music with Andrea Bocelli singing Con te partirò, romantic and perfect, while Dante held me close with his hand on my waist and the other holding mine, guiding me soft and perfect. Are you happy? He asked, low and intimate. More than I ever dreamed. I was honest. I never thought I'd have this. Marriage and family and peace. Even with everything, there was rare insecurity. My life, the violence and the danger. Our life, I corrected him firmly. And yes, 1,000 times yes, because you give me more. You give me love and protection and home. You won't run again. It was a real question with old fear in it. Never, it was an absolute promise. I found my home finally. Where? He whispered, needing to hear it. I stopped dancing and looked straight into his eyes with the truth exposed. You're my home. Not a place and not a city. You. Always you. He broke and pulled me into a tight embrace with his face in my neck and his shoulders shaking, crying again, happy and complete and loved. And I held him tight while the music continued and the world spun, but we were just us together. Home. Antonella's speech came after with everyone seated, food served and wine flowing. She stood up tapping her glass, and silence fell with everyone waiting. My son was, she began while looking at Dante with love and honesty, hard and cold since his father died when he was 19. He took over everything and protected me, but he closed his heart. She paused, controlling her emotion. Years like that just surviving and not living. He had power but not peace. He had family but not love. She looked at me now, smiling through tears. But this woman, this brave girl brought light. She threw herself in front of a bullet for a stranger, for me, and she brought more. She brought courage and laughter and love. His heart came back and opened and felt again. She jumped in front of a bullet for me and I gained a daughter, a gift from God, a blessing. She came close taking my hand, and then Dante's hand, joining the two together. Benvenuta alla famiglia Lucia. Welcome to the family, officially and eternally. My daughter, my heart. She kissed my forehead, and then Dante's cheek. Be happy, my children. Love strong, live complete, and always together. The church, the garden, and everyone was crying and applauding and celebrating. It was true family, complete and perfect. Night fell, and the party continued, but we escaped for just a few minutes alone in the garden, away from the tents under the stars. Just us. Wife. Dante tested the word while smiling. My wife. Husband, I repeated, liking it. My husband. 11 years ago, he said thoughtfully. You were running and scared and alone. And today? Today you're home and safe and loved and mine. Ours, I corrected as always. Not yours, but ours together. Ours, he agreed, while pulling me close. Always ours. He kissed me soft and promised and eternal, while the music floated from the garden with laughter and joy and family. But we were there under the stars, just existing together and complete, where dark met light, where violence met peace, where flight met home, and two hearts broken by different tragedies at different times found healing in dark love that was intense and true. Much later, when everyone had left and the house was quiet with just the three of us, our family, Antonella hugged us one last time before leaving us. My family is complete and perfect and loved. Good night, Mama. Dante was soft as a loving son. Good night, children. She smiled mischievously. Enjoy your first night as a married couple. She went upstairs, leaving us there on our first day as an official and complete family, while Dante literally picked me up in his arms like a bride, following tradition. What are you doing? I laughed, surprised. taking my wife to our room. It was obvious, it's tradition. He climbed the stairs with me in his arms as easily as if I weighed nothing, going to our room, which was decorated with flowers and candles that Antonella had prepared, of course, and he placed me on the floor gently and reverently, our gazes connected with promise and future, and always. I love you, Lucia Caruso. My new name sounded perfect. I love you, Dante Caruso, the name I carried proud and happy, always and eternally and completely. The door closed, leaving the world outside with just us inside, husband and wife.
Buried beneath bullets and kisses. Here are 4 details you might have missed. The daisy thread. White daisies appear 3 times as symbolic bookends. First at the Little Italy market where Lucia saves Antonella. Then as Dante's apology flowers after their first fight. And finally, as the chosen flower for their wedding. They're literally their flower, the light. Dark name, symbolism. Lucia means light in Italian. And the story explicitly ends with dark met light. Her name was literally foreshadowing her role in bringing light to Dante's dark world, as Antonella points out in her wedding speech. The 3-gun pattern. Lucia picks up a gun exactly 3 times, each time to save someone she loves. First at the parking lot saves Antonella, then at the warehouse saves Dante, and she explicitly acknowledges 3rd time picking one up, showing her evolution from civilian to protector. I see you next story, darling. Bye.